afternoon, councillors, members of the public, welcome. Declare this meeting open. Declarations of interest. I have Councillor Steck and Councillor Prosser both declare a impartiality interest in item 10.3.1. Councillor Steck's impartiality is her partner sponsors a major trophy each year and financially contributes to the club. Councillor Prosser's impartiality interest is he is a member of the Bunbury Rowing Club. Are there any further declarations of interest, councillors? Public questions, Mr. Smith.
Mr. Mayor and councillors, thank you for the opportunity. First question is, am I correct in my reading of the council's budget for 2015-16 that no funding has been allocated as a line item to the Eisteddfod or Christmas carols? 2, did applications for funding of events in 2015-16 outside of the line items close on the 30th of June 2015? That is well before the budget was published on the council website. 3, were the Eisteddfod and or the Christmas Carols Committee informed that they needed to apply for council general event funding from council, which has never been the case before now? And how much is or was the amount available for funding for community events in each of 2013-14, 2014-15 and 2015-16?
Thank you. Mr. CEO.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. In relation to question 1, yes, it is correct. There is no line item. Question 2, allocations for the event funding are determined by the Bunbury Event Coordination Group and do not appear as line items in the budget, and they're not approved prior to the adoption of the council budget. Question 3, yes, both the Eisteddfod and the Christmas Carols Committee, which has now been disbanded, were advised in writing and at meetings.
Thank you. Councillors, can I have someone move the confirmation of the previous minutes of the ordinary council meeting? Councillor McNeil. All in favour? As against, it's carried unanimously. Thank you. We have a request from Mr. Smith to present to item 10.4.1. Those who agree, please indicate. Those who don't, that's approved. Councillors, are there any petitions tonight? Method of dealing. We have 10.2.1, which we will discuss, 10.3.1, 10.3.3 and now 10.4.1. Are there any other items that councillors wish to discuss? Can I have someone move the balance? Councillor Cook, Councillor Giles, all in favour? Those against, that's carried unanimously. Thank you. 10.2.1, councillors, you would have received advice in the last couple of days, or late last week and yesterday, that we have received late items for the Welga conference tomorrow. Because we haven't had the opportunity of discussing those in a briefing, I'm proposing that we deal with items 4.1 to 4.11. And if there is a need to consider the late notice of motions, then we can deal with that at another time. So I'm in your hands. Can someone move the executive recommendation? Councillor Steele?
No, question is, when would the other time be? Do you mean tonight? So we can discuss it, because if the conference starts tomorrow, we need to discuss it tonight.
I don't believe we're in a position to discuss it unless we have further information and...
But we didn't really discuss the other ones really either, so... Well,
Councillor Steele, you're moving item 4.1 to 4.11.
No, I'm not moving them.
You're not. Can I have someone move it? Councillor Prosser, seconder. Councillor McNeil. Councillor Prosser. Councillor McNeil. Voters against. Speakers against. I'll put it all in favour. Those against. 2. That's carried. Thank you. 10.3.1. Be with you in a sec. Councillor Prosser, you're moving the executive recommendation.
Yeah, and if I could,
Sorry, you want to vacate? Yep. So Councillor Stick is vacating. That's.
move as well.
What's your amendment?
It's on the screen there that the CEO be requested to, with consideration of a contribution of $5,000 to this project and next budget review.
Okay. Someone prepared to second that? Councillor Morris. Councillor Prosser.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Everyone really knows the club's been in that area for a long time now, and we've always really strived to looking how to improve the area, whether it be the foreshore, the rear section of the club, and just the general aesthetics of the club. We've identified this as one of the projects, basically we run out of space inside the clubhouse, and now we're looking to move on the outside and develop that area. It's going to be actually a good advantage to council for not having to undertake the maintenance back there. Everyone has driven by and had a look recently that the grass has overgrown. There's often graffiti in that area and there's cars parking up on that grass area. So what we're looking to do is fence it all off, contain it, store our trailer in there and take care of the whole area. Moving forward, we've had some financial difficulty over the past 15, 20 years, and Vice President Barney Curran would recall that as well. And we've had our clubhouse burned down, we've had the Railway Institute burned down. Both of those we were able to rebuild, and then we successfully got a tenant in there looking after the restaurant, and then had a few problems with there. So we had to take the financial burden of that as well, and that's in the position we're in now. Really just looking for this extra $5,000 to give us a push along and do a good job at this rear back bit, and instead of sacrificing quality of the work and putting paving down instead of hot mix and those sorts of things. So urge you guys to vote for this amendment. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Morris, do you wish to speak at this time? Is there anyone wishing to speak against that?
Well, no, not against it, but the $5,000 exactly, so that's just going to be in the budget review?
Yep.
So it could not?
It may or may not get up. I'll put it. All in favour? Those against? 1. That's carried. Thank you. Can we get Councillor Stick back in? Councillors 10.3.3, Councillor Kelly.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move it. I've got a couple of minor amendments to it as well.
Sure. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. With part 2, agrees to a committee structure of 7 members, encompassing 1 councillor and 6 community members, with positions of proxy. The rest stays the same. That's part 2. And part 3, Mr. Mayor, consistent with our terminology, endorses 3.1 I'm talking about here, sorry, my apologies there, to facilitate cultural supporting education, tourism, etc. Rather than develop, support, and promote, facilitate is the term that I think better suits there.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Jones. Councillor Kelly.
Just to say, Mr. Mayor, that this particular resolution will bring together the efforts that we make to work with people overseas and on the international scene, if you like, putting Bunbury out there as a place that is multicultural and very much aware of what else is happening on the planet. It consolidates what we do in those relationships rather than having several different things happening at one time. And I think that it's a good idea to ensure that we can, I suppose, throw a blanket over how we work with our international friends. So I encourage councillors to support this with these amendments. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Jones. Is there a speaker against?
Sorry, sir, can I have an amendment as well?
You can move an amendment.
Thank you, sir. It's just that where it says, sorry, I do need to stand. It just that where it says that 3 endorses the terms of the reference of the City of Bunbury in sister-city relationships. I would just like to include that we support or be supportive of any state or federal government strategies or tours that follow that same program.
Point of order, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, Councillor Morris, point of order.
Should we be voting on the first amendment that Councillor Kelly has proposed before we look at a second amendment?
Yeah, Councillor Morris, I've accepted the motion from Councillor Kelly, supported by Councillor Jones. That's fine. This next amendment that Councillor Steck wishes to move, I'm just contemplating whether that's going to be outside of the province of the intent of this committee. I'm just waiting for it to be typed up. Have you got words to that, Liz?
Well, state and federal government tourism programs, because they already are existing.
I'll test the meeting, Councillor Steck. Is there a seconder for that? It lapses.
Yeah, I just wanted to see that in writing before, and
I've ruled that it lapses.
okay.
Is the Speaker against the executive recommendation as amended? Councillor Giles.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm certainly supportive, as Councillor McCreary would know, of this committee and the work it does, but I cannot vote for only having one councillor on that committee. That is a very hard-working committee, and most of the other committees do have two councillors, such as the Heritage Committee and so on. So I can't think why we would only want one councillor on there. I'm not opposed to the 7 members, but I will not vote for just having one councillor because I think it's just too busy a committee to have one councillor on it. Thank you.
Why don't you move that that be including 2 councillors, 7 including 2 councillors?
Well, I can do that if I'm prepared to move an amendment to make that 2 councillors.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Councillor Giles?
Well, what I've already said, I think that there's enough work there, and I think most of our committees do have 2 councillors. It is
Okay.
often that we're very busy and one person can't be there, so it is good not to just have a proxy, but someone who is at most of the meetings so they can continue the business of that committee. So I would urge you to vote for that amendment.
Is there a speaker against that amendment? I'll put it all in favour. Those against, that's carried. So the amendment is that there will be 7 members, including 2 members of council.
I've got a question.
Just excuse me for a second, Councillor Steele. Including 2. Okay, your question?
So if this gets up, will we still be paying the Chamber to run the Jiaxing business side of things? I think they get a couple $1,000 a year. Will that cease?
Councillor Steele, that's not related to this matter. I'm happy for you to discuss it with the CEO afterwards. We're dealing with the now amended motion.
Sorry, sir, can I ask a question? Will we be voting for people that are up for election or people that are considered that they don't need to be up for election? For example, some people will go to an election and not be maybe elected, and some of us don't.
Yeah, I know, Councillor Jones. This committee won't be set up until after the October elections, Councillor Steck. It's in the report.
Well,
Speaker against?
committee exists.
I'm going to put it as amended, and that is that we have 7 members, including 2 elected members and a proxy. All in favour? Those against? That's carried. Thank you very much. 10.4.1, Mr. Smith, you have 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and councillors. The reason I have asked to speak to this item is my concern that the rezoning is proceeding ahead of the adoption of the new town planning scheme. It is, of course, part of the efforts that council has gone to ensure the state government is compensated for the loss of its land out at College Grove as a result of the preservation of the areas east of the drive that I can't remember the name of, Somerville Drive. Landcorp has already been paid out some $6 million from the last 34 lots, so it's fully paid for. The amount that is still owing to the Department of Lands, I'm not certain of, but effectively Council has entered into a joint venture for the development of Lot 70 for the bush land that adjoins Somerville Drive, for the lots along the highway, and this lot, Council has undertaken the management of the development, which means that it has the land transferred to it, and it bears the responsibility and cost of any rezoning and including any infrastructure that might be required. I've not seen in all the papers that I've been able to read from the budget what the budget allocation from Council certainly is for all of those lots, including this lot. But importantly, it is currently zoned Parks and Recreation at present. It's zoned urban zone under the regional scheme, which doesn't of course mean that it would be central business zoning. It just means an urban zoning of some description. So the people in the 200 metres between the current boundary of the CBD zone and this land will not be aware of what their rezonings are proposed to be under the draft of the new town planning scheme that has gone off to the Department of the Planning Commission for processing. But nor is there any explanation in the item at present as to what the implications of a CBD zoning might be. It is, of course, no longer going to be a tourism site, so it's not just a tourism development that's being proposed for this lot, it's a general CBD zoning. So it could be any of the other uses that are allowed in the CBD, and that of course includes high-rise residential or hotels. So what are the implications of Council's decision tonight for the question of the height of the development and its impact upon surrounding landowners, and of course facilities like the recreation ground and the foreshore area that has been developed? I just think this is premature. The amendments to the town planning scheme are going to take some time to process. They haven't been fully made public yet, so there's been no public opportunity to comment on what's proposed in that scheme. And as far as I can tell, with each of the land that is to be developed to compensate the state for the value of its land in College Grove, Lot 70, we know there was concern by the local residents in relation to the bush area that is to be developed as bush blocks of 2,000 square metres. I'm not sure the public is fully aware of that and the implications for the bush on that land and for the bush between College Grove and the health campus. The land along the highway, as I understand it, has been discounted from being developed because of the bush on that land. And I really feel this site has the same sorts of problems associated with it. Now, the work on Lot 70 and the work on the bushland is already underway, so there are at least those two lots progressing towards development. We don't know what the money yield is going to be on those, whether that will be more than compensate the state government for the rest of its compensation.
Mr. Smith, can you just wind up?
In summary, I think this is premature and ought to await the Scheme 8 being adopted for advertising.
Thank you. Is there a mover for the recommendation? Councillor Hayward. Seconder? Councillor McNeil. Councillor Hayward.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I think there's a fantastic opportunity with this particular lot of land. It's going to, into the future, be a real landmark for our city, I think. I think there's a great opportunity. This is obviously early in the process. We know that the wheels of government move slow, and it's important for us to get on the front foot with these things so that we are ready to go when a suitable developer is found. I don't accept Mr Smith's argument that this has any of the issues that we have down there at College Grove. I think there'd be general acceptance within the community that this would be a really terrific opportunity. So I'd encourage you all to support it. Thank you.
Councillor McNeil.
I concur with Councillor Hayward. Thank you.
Speaker against?
Mr. Mayor, just got a quick question.
Sure.
I guess this is to the CEO, Mr Mayor, with respect to the timing of it, which I think is quite important. The preparation of scheme amendment documentation and then the process after that, can we just get a rough timeline on how you think that might proceed?
Mr CEO.
Yeah, through Mr Mayor, there's a couple of different processes involved with this. The first one, obviously, the scheme amendment from Council's perspective. The other one is the change of classification from Class A Reserve, which is through State Government. State Government have indicated that they will not finalise their position on it until Council has actually gone through and done the scheme amendment. So we have to initiate and go through the scheme amendment. The time frame for the scheme amendment, I'm not sure. Could you, a rough estimate? Sorry.
I'd probably say we're getting it around about 3 months if we can fast track this. I don't see any impediments.
Thank you. Is there a speaker against? Councillor Steele.
Thank you. I'm going to be consistent all through the years that I've been on council, taking away A-class reserve land, and these lands are precious that we need to actually keep for our future. The cities around the world are actually trying to reclaim lands and plant gardens and trees throughout their city, and we're going to be giving away a piece of land that is undeveloped, and we should be using it if we're going to be doing living within the city. These are the sort of lands that we actually need to keep for our future residents, so I'm going to be consistent and vote against this.
Speaker 4. Councillor Hayward.
Can I just ask a question?
Yes.
Sorry. It's just that with this College Grove issue, there has been quite some contestation in the past. So has Council received any kind of structure plan or total outcome of what they want for this lot of land? Or is it just a straight rezoning?
This is a rezoning. Very first stages of a rezoning. It goes out to the public for consultation. There's a whole raft of things.
Initiated by council and not by any developer.
Because it's going to be our land.
Fair enough.
Councillor Hayward.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I just encourage you to support it. I think that we can support it and get on with the job of getting it rezoned, and look forward to seeing what potentially could be developed on that site.
Thank you. I'll put it all in favour. Please indicate. Those against. That's one. That's carried. Thank you. Thank you, councillors. Thank you, staff. Meeting closed.